I am Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share educational videos on a variety of topics. Today, I wanted to talk about the Gypsy Rose case. Her name is Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and she was convicted in the death of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. There is a lot to cover in this case. I will link a full video to Grizzly True Crimes video because she broke down a lot of different nuances of this case. I'm just going to do a general overview because I really want to take a look at her interview with the police and her testimony in the trial of her ex boyfriend. The disclaimer for this and all my videos is that this is for education only. I'm not able to provide a diagnosis. This is not in any way a psychological evaluation. These are just my thoughts and opinions based on publicly available information. There are also trigger warnings for child harm, death, and also medical neglect. And sometimes I have to say schmurder because the algorithm picks up certain words if they're said too many times. So that's what that's about. Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard was one of 5 children, and there are allegations that she had a long history of stealing from family. And around 24 years old, she became pregnant by a 17-year-old who is Gypsy's father, Rob Blanchard. And it sounds like they were briefly married and then separated shortly before Gypsy's birth in 1991. This case is a classic case of factitious disorder imposed on another or Munchausen by proxy. The factitious disorder, that's the disorder that's in the DSM-5. The term that most people know about is Munchausen by proxy. I did a full video because this diagnosis came up in a different case, and I will link that video too if you wanted to hear my deeper dive into this particular diagnosis. Overall, the general warning signs are deception from the caregiver. The caregiver reports symptoms that are not able to be confirmed by medical personnel. The medical personnel will often feel that there's nothing wrong, and the minute the caregiver feels this, they will often switch and find a different doctor. The caregiver may have medical knowledge and may work in a medical setting. The caregiver has the desire to be seen as good at what they do. They routinely seek out approval and attention from the medical staff. They refuse to leave the victim's side when they're being assessed. The medical history seems spotty, vague, or inconsistent. So there are these reports of symptoms that just don't seem to make sense. And then anytime an invasive diagnostic or surgical procedure is recommended, the caregiver goes with this without any question or concern. And so a lot of times, so if a child has to have an invasive medical procedure, a lot of parents are going to weigh, okay, do they really need this? Like this is a big procedure. Are we sure we want to put them through with this? Individuals with this type of diagnosis, they subject their children to all types of painful medical procedures without any care or concern for their child. The details of this case are so the medical things go back to as early as when Gypsy was 3 months old, that Dee Dee reported that Gypsy had sleep apnea. And doctors could not confirm it, but she was adamant that her child had sleep apnea. And then around 8 years old, so the diagnoses, they keep getting more and more severe and requiring more and more treatment. So around 8 years old, Dee Dee says that Gypsy has leukemia, muscular dystrophy, and that she cannot walk and requires a feeding tube. And there are reports from Gypsy that if she did try to walk, if she did not adhere to what her mother said, that she would be physically harmed by her mother. And her mother used these illnesses to gain attention for herself. It's my understanding, they had free trips to Disney from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They ended up being gifted a house after Hurricane Katrina that had this special ramp, and that's the home where Dee Dee would not survive the attack by Gypsy's boyfriend, who's now ex-boyfriend. The mom also complained that Gypsy had seizures, asthma, and had significant hearing and visual impairments. Gypsy was prescribed so many different medications, and she was using a breathing machine while she slept, even though she did not need any of these things. And she did multiple surgeries, including procedures on her eyes and the removal of her salivary glands. There are reports that the mom would numb her gums so that she would be drooling. And that's when the doctors or dentists, that's where somebody was like, oh, like there's a problem with her glands. And that ended up being removed. Gypsy's teeth also rotted and ended up needing to be pulled out. And people speculate that some of the issues with her teeth might have been due to all of the medications and things she was on and did not need. So Gypsy was homeschooled until about second grade. And then the mom, she did not provide her with any type of even like homeschool curriculum. And Gypsy pretty much taught herself how to read, and she watched a lot of Disney movies. And there seemed to be this kind of fairy tale aspect, like she wanted this fantasy. And that's where we'll get into her boyfriend in just a moment. 3 years prior to her mother's death, she met Nicholas Godejohn online. And they were in some type of Christian online dating site. And they ended up developing an online romantic relationship where she paid for him to visit. I will talk about that a little bit more in a second. During his trial, it came up that he has autism level 2. So the most severe level of autism is level 3, and that's where the individual requires a lot of support. Level 2 is kind of in the middle, requires significant support, but it might not be substantial. It's not like level 3. And it said that he has an IQ of 80, and there seemed to be this fantasy side of him as well that had a bit of a violent streak. So, according to some of his reports to police, he had this part of him, this side of him that was what he described. I think, was it vampire? I think it might have been a vampire. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. And that part of him wanted to harm people. And that was the side of him that was difficult to control. And it came out during this whole situation. I work with individuals with autism, and talking about the difference between fantasy and reality with any child, but specifically for a person on the spectrum, the way that he talks about this, it does not sound like a dissociative experience like DID or anything like that. What it sounds like is this aggressive side that he kind of externalized it and gave it I think it had a name, and there was this fantasy element of like the vampire, that was something that he did on his own. So the first time he came to visit, Gypsy paid for him to come, and they bumped into each other at a theater. He tried to introduce her to his mom. Mom did not like him, kind of thought he was odd, and probably made some negative comments about him that made Gypsy upset. And Gypsy snuck off to the restroom with him, and they did their thing there. And a little while later, she paid for him to come back again. And this is where they were planning to get rid of her mother. And he came back in June of 2015. She stole the knife. She paid for him to come, his travel. She did all of these things. I think she gave him details about like how deeply her mother slept, like all of these things happened. And at the end of it, Gypsy went to their shared Facebook page. So it seems like mom and Gypsy had this Facebook page that they posted on, and she posted, "The bee is dead." She wrote out the whole thing. And that was the thing that gave the police, everybody a heads up of, okay, let's go check on her. Like, I think a neighbor was concerned, and Gypsy had talked about Nick to the neighbor, and I think the neighbor, and like that's how they ended up finding all of them, and that's how all of this ended up coming out. And the police were all just kinda like, "She doesn't," because Gypsy left without any of her medical devices, without any of her medication, and the community is thinking that she's, was she kidnapped, or like what happened in this situation, not knowing that she was a victim of medical abuse. Now, that does not excuse anything that she did. And after we go through some of this testimony, I'm also going to talk about, do I think there was any other way for Gypsy to get free from her mom? We'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's start with the police interview that they did with Gypsy right after they found her at Nick's house, is my understanding. And yes, let's get into it. I will make sure to put a full link to any of the videos shared down in the description.
Hey, Gypsy. Is it Stan? Hi, Gypsy. Let you guys talk. I'm Detective Hancock. I'm with Green County Sheriff's Office. How are you today? Good. Doing all right? Good. Good. All right. Well, Gypsy, I'm here and I'm going to get a little bit of information from you. So, since this is the first time I've ever met you, okay. So, what is the correct spelling of your first name?
It's Gypsyro.
So to me, she was what's called infantilized by her mom. It seemed like mom wanted to keep her little and young. There are even allegations that the mom changed her birthday after Hurricane Katrina and records were destroyed, or I don't know, like she made those allegations and she refiled for a new birth certificate, or she somehow forged something that said Gypsy was born in 1995 instead of 1991, just to keep her younger. So to me, she's talking very young. And also she has watched her mother manipulate and get her way and say and do things to stay out of trouble her entire life.
S-E, and my middle initial is A.
Okay.
And my last name is B-L-A-N-C-H-A-R-D.
B-L-A-N-C-H-A.
B-L-A-N-C-H-A-R-D-E is Blanchard.
Blanchard. Okay. With an E. Okay. All right. And your date of birth, Gypsy?
Is 7/27/1995. On here they have 91 because makes a long story, but
okay, sure.
Me and my mother are Hurricane Katrina survivors.
Okay.
And my birth certificate was washed away in Katrina.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they messed up a long time when they messed up the paperwork, and it said 1991, but it's actually 95.
Okay. And that puts you at how old then?
I would be really 19, but on here it's my Medicaid. My medical insurance has 23.
Okay. All right. So how old actually are you? Let's get
19.
19. Okay.
It's all screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. Gypsy, do you know your social security number?
Unfortunately.
And so she's telling the lie there because her real birthday is 1991. She was not born in 1995. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit.
We'll get with that later then. All right. Now, how long have you actually lived there in Missouri?
In Missouri since 2006.
2006?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. Do you work anywhere?
No.
Okay. All right. You ever have work since you've been in Springfield? Did you work down in Louisiana or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have family down there in Louisiana?
I have some, but unfortunately we're not on good speaking terms.
Okay. All right. And now
So I think the mom wasn't on good speaking terms with family, likely because of her things mom did.
Do you have any family here in Missouri? I'm sorry, we're in a different state. So.
Sorry. I have my mom that lives in Missouri.
Okay. And is that it, or do you have anybody else?
Does friends count or not really?
No, like biological, like brother or sister, siblings, nothing like that. Okay, so are you an only child then? Okay, all right. What's some things that you like to do? I mean, what kind of hobbies do you like?
I love art.
Love art?
I love going to movies. I love animals.
Okay.
Just different things like that.
Okay, good. Well, Gypsy, we are here investigating something, so I do need to talk with you about some things, okay?
I'm thankful because I have no idea why I'm here.
Okay.
Nobody will tell me anything.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's kind of why we're here, to kind of help you out with that, okay? I am going to just read to Miranda to share real quick, okay? And as I'm reading this, if you don't understand something,
I'm going to fast forward just a little bit because they're going to let her know, I think, at least that they found her mom.
My mom didn't let me use mine because she was like, it's unsafe. So
oh, really? Yeah. Why did she feel like that was unsafe?
My mom tended to be overprotective.
Okay.
And her saying that her mom tended to be overprotective, to me, this brings up my conversations about cults or high control or high demand groups, that her mom was incredibly controlling and ruled every aspect of her life, including having her believe until she was around the age of 19 that she had all of these medical conditions, when then she realized that she didn't.
Does she? All right, it's understandable. I want to tell you that what I've got to talk to you about, if you're involved in this, then you need to tell me that now. Okay?
I'm completely 100% honest.
And let me talk for just a second, okay? But if you're involved in this, then you need to be honest with me. You need to tell me now and not wait till later. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want you to understand that there's just some things going on that you need to be made aware of, and I think that you're aware of it. Okay. All right. My concern at this point. Let me back up with something. You're here. Do you know where you're at right now?
Yes.
Okay. Where are you at right now?
I'm at the Waukesha Police Department.
Okay. All right. And how did you lived in Missouri at one point, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And how did you get from Missouri to here?
Not about a week ago. It was it all started when I met my boyfriend Nick.
Okay.
And we met on an online dating website. My mom had a laptop, and so I used hers.
Okay.
But
let me back up for just a second, okay? Earlier when I said let's be honest with each other, okay? Mm-hmm. I'll be honest with you as long as you're honest with me, okay? And I want you to understand that your honesty goes a long ways, okay? You don't want something in this nature to be like a big snowball. We'll use that as an example, okay? You don't want that snowball to be so big that you know how when you pack a snowball and it's real small. What happens when you start rolling it down a hill? It's bigger. Okay, and what happens if you start telling lies? They get bigger. You don't remember which ones you said?
So having not had a formal education, to me, she comes off incredibly intelligent, very, very intelligent.
Which ones you told, and as soon as that thing gets so big, it goes down the bottom of the hill and it crashes into a lot of people. Okay, I mean a lot of people. All right, and it hurts a lot of people, right? Because it's so big, it crashes and hurts them. Now, if you're telling the truth, that's not going to happen. Is that right? Okay, so that's kind of why I want you to be honest with me about this. Okay, about some things. All right.
Absolutely.
So we need to. I'm here. Okay. Because I don't think that this is something that you the intention wasn't there. You know, I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. I think that you're a smart person. Okay, I think that you sometimes you get dealt bad hand, and I think sometimes that's what's happened with you. Okay, and I want you to understand that you need to be honest with me, and if you're involved in anything that I'm about ready to tell you, then you need to tell me. Okay, your mom's dead. Okay, now what I want to ask you is your mom's passed away. Okay, and she's deceased. All right. Now what I want to ask you: did you have involvement in this? Okay.
Okay, so she already knew this, and this part is an act. And even to me, when she first said, "Wait, what?" it almost looked like there was a little smile, but that was just from and I can't see exactly, but that's kind of what I saw.
Just, hang on, listen to me for just a second, okay? I want you to understand something, okay? Remember the snowball that we talked about? You remember the pencil that we talked about? I'm going to demonstrate something with a pencil here, okay? Look at me. Look at me for just a second, okay? Sometimes people are going along. You know how you have a pencil? You got the lead here and you got the eraser right here, right? You know what I'm talking about? You've seen a pencil, right? You've used a pencil before, right? Okay. And when you write with a pencil, you write your own story, right?
So I'm really proud of the detective in this case because he is not moved by the emotion at all. And I wonder if she's going to notice that he's not reacting or responding to her crying right now.
Okay. And you take that pencil and you're writing along with your story. Well, sometimes some people make mistakes when they write stuff down, don't they? We've all made mistakes. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, right? You ever made a mistake in your life?
Yeah.
And I've made mistakes in my life. And hang on just a second, okay? When you're writing this stuff down, all of a sudden you make a mistake. Well, what do you do with that mistake? You take that pencil and you flip it over and you start erasing stuff, okay? And you erase it and you recorrect it. And you take that pencil and then you rewrite your history, your story, okay? And I think that's where you're at with this tonight, okay? That you have a chance to rewrite your story. And I think that that's what you can do, is you can rewrite your story tonight, okay? Like I said earlier, I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. You know, I don't think that that's you at all. And you're not out here, you know, doing things that are so bad that nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to be around you. I don't think that's you, okay? But what I do think, okay, what I do think is there's some stuff going on that you and I need to talk about. And why these things happen, okay? And that's where we're at with this, okay? Now, I want you to understand something, that you need to be, look at me, okay? Look at me for just a second, okay? You're in a situation where you can help yourself right now, okay? And that's what you need to do, okay? You've got to help yourself, okay? Because the more and more you let that snowball roll down that hill and get bigger, what's going to happen is it's going to explode. And that's what's going to happen with you, you know. You don't want that, do you? I don't think you do. I wouldn't want that. So we've got to rewrite history. We've got to rewrite some things, don't we? Okay? And I think that's where we're at with all this, right? What happened with your mom that night?
I don't know what happened with my mom at all.
Okay, just listen to me, okay, sweetheart? You know what happened to your mom, okay? You know exactly. Sweetheart, listen to me. Let's not go down that road of taking your pencil and writing a bunch of mistakes down. And then when you get to a certain point, that paper's gone, and guess what?
This detective is really good because he is not, like I said, he's not being moved and he's trying to get to the truth.
What? You can't erase it, can you?
No.
You can't erase it anymore. Do you want that?
Yes.
I don't think you do.
Yes.
I think you're smart enough to understand where we're at with this, okay? I think you know, okay? And I know that you know, all right? I wouldn't be here if I didn't know. And I know the answer to a lot of these questions, okay? I already know them, okay? I know them, and I'm giving you a chance to be honest with me, okay? Because you don't want this.
Now, he might not be telling the whole, I don't know that he knew the whole story. I don't know that he knew all of it, but I think he's trying to reduce the chance that she'll lie to him.
Thing just spiral out of control, okay?
No.
Your boyfriend's in here, okay?
Well, he's here.
He's in here, okay? All right? And do you think that we've not talked to people?
No, I know.
Listen to me before you say a whole lot. So I want to know, okay, why? Why did you guys hurt your mom? Okay.
We would never.
Sweetheart, look at me. I've got kids. I've been doing this for a long time.
I know, sir.
And I want you to understand something. Don't dig yourself that hole. Don't go down that path, okay? Because listen to me for a second. You go down that path, and what's going to happen?
I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
I don't tell lies.
Okay, and bigger and bigger. You're not going to, you understand that? Why?
Would you like me to start from the beginning?
I only want you to start from the beginning, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. And I'm glad you're making that progress, okay? I'm proud of you for that. But the first thing that we need to get out of the way right now is why. That's the biggest thing. You've got friends. You've got friends that love you.
Of course,
and care
I know.
for you.
I know.
You and your mom.
Yes.
Got friends that care for you.
I know.
You know what? They're down the bottom of this hill with that snowball, and they're asking all these questions. They're asking why.
I know.
Now, help me give them an answer as to why. Okay? You have to give me an answer as to why, because they are so concerned about you.
I know. I have a lot of friends in Missouri. I know that. Okay. And I would never hurt my mom.
Okay, sweetheart, do you really want to dig yourself? You're digging yourself deeper. Okay?
No, seriously, I would never hurt her.
Listen to me. Okay. I don't play around with that. Okay. I'm not going to play around with this. Okay.
Sir, I didn't do anything.
Because that's what you're doing, right? Because once I walk out that door, taking this.
Yeah, please speak.
Well, when we get to the why this happened,
I don't even really know what happened.
Okay.
I came here because my mother came out of my house. She and I were having relationship problems. I guess she wanted me to stay a little girl forever. She didn't really like my boyfriend. And she was like, pretty much, if you want to move to Wisconsin with him, fine, go. And I packed my stuff. She basically wanted me out of the house before then because we kept on having arguments, but I'm not a violent person. I would never ever hurt her. And a lot of our arguments stemmed from being with Nick. And so I just basically chose to come here. I gave him money to come here. And I said, can you please come pick me up? Because my mom's kicking me out of the house real soon. And that's when he asked his mom, could I stay with his mom and him and his stepdad and his little brother? His mom said, fine. So anyway, I don't.
So that's true. So she was going, like, after all this, she went back to Nick's house and she was going to live with their family.
Exactly, I know the exact date he came to Springfield, but I know that I gave him the money to stay at a hotel. And anyway, I let him know that.
Hey, hang on. Okay, we're going in a totally different direction here. Okay, we're going to get back to where we started from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you listen to me. Okay, let's get back to the why. We can talk all night long about this other stuff, and I'll sit here and I'll listen to you, and I'll listen to everything.
That's what
is going on.
Sweetheart.
My friend had I do have a phone, but it doesn't call people. I just basically used it for Yahoo messaging app, and one of the people that had texted me, I had texted him that I was leaving home, and he texted me, and he's like, are you okay? People have been posting some stuff on Facebook, and I asked him what post. And unfortunately, police came before I could even read what he was saying. So I guess he was trying to tell me something.
Okay. Do you see that that's what your friends, all your friends are wondering why?
Mm-hmm.
Even that friend that you're talking about is wondering.
Did she have a heart attack? She was.
I'm going to try to get to the part where she tells the truth, but right there she asked if she had a heart attack. She knows exactly how she passed.
Hey, look at me. We're not going to play those games. I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm here to do. Okay? Why? Detective Hancock, why? Why?
I don't know if you didn't know this, but my mom had guardianship papers for me. Because
yeah, the audio does cut there. So they're talking about something about her mom having guardianship papers.
Okay.
And Uncle Ray.
Okay. Can we talk about why first? And I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Because I talked to them.
Okay.
And you know what? They're this group of people that's sitting in here asking me why. Detective Hancock, why? So he took care of that, didn't he?
What do you mean? I don't think he would ever hurt her. I mean, he's very sweet. He's very kind. I mean, he doesn't like police that much. He's kind of a radicalist, I guess you would call it.
Okay.
But
Sweetheart, your mom loves you very much. So we're not going to go off on what Nick believes and what he doesn't believe. Okay? But we're going to start talking about why Nick did this to your mom. And you know why he did this. Don't let your friends down. Don't let those ones that still are there and got your back and still love you. Don't let them down.
the only reason I could become is because he wanted me to himself.
Okay.
Because my mom kept on getting in the way of us being together.
Sure she did. She didn't like Nick.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want her little baby girl to grow up. She wanted to keep her little baby girl young, didn't she?
She said that there was something dangerous about him. She had a way of reading people.
Okay.
And she said that he seems like the head in a closet type of person, the kind that murders and kills, and
Your
like
mom's right.
Jeffrey Dahmer kind of person.
You think your mom's right? You know your mom's right. You hit her right on the nail on the head, sweetheart. You know your mom was right when she said that.
Okay. So at some point, she tells them everything. I want to get to her court testimony because she was actually called by the defense, by Nick's attorney. And so Gypsy ended up getting 10 years and she's going to be released. It's my understanding, I believe she's served about 80% of her sentence so far, and she is being released soon. And let's watch her testimony at Nick's trial. Here is Nick coming in. I am going to go ahead and fast forward past her saying her name. They had to have her hold the mic because her voice was so low.
Slidell, Louisiana.
And when did you move to Missouri?
In 2005.
And who did you move to Missouri with?
My mother,
And what was her name?
Dee Dee Blanchard.
Did she go by any other names?
Dee Dee.
So if I say Dee Dee, you'll know who I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Do you know a Nicholas Godejohn?
Yes, sir.
And when did you meet Nicholas Godejohn?
In October of 2012.
How did you meet him?
On an online Christian dating website.
Do you remember the name of that site?
ChristianDatingForFree.com.
How old were you when you met Nick?
About 21.
In June of 2015, what did you consider your relationship to Nick to be? What kind of relationship?
We were boyfriend, girlfriend.
And when did you become boyfriend and girlfriend?
In October of 2012.
They started dating immediately.
When did you first meet Nick in person?
March of 2015.
So between October of 2012 and March of 2015, you hadn't actually met Nick in person?
That is correct.
What type of relationship did you have during that period of time?
Online relationship.
And by online, what do you mean?
Strictly communicating through Facebook.
Any other ways other than Facebook?
Instant text messaging, emails.
All by way of computer and cell phones?
Yes, sir.
Did you send videos to each other?
Yes, sir.
Prior to March of 15, when you indicated you met Mr. Godejohn for the first time in person, had your mother met him?
No, sir.
Did she know he existed?
No, sir.
Why is it she didn't know?
Because it was a secret relationship and my mother would never allow me to have a boyfriend.
Why not?
Because she controlled every aspect of my life.
Did you and Nick ever talk about the fact that you were not allowed to date?
Yes.
How many times do you think?
I don't remember.
Did you and your mother ever have any discussions about whether you were ever going to be able to date?
Yes, sir.
Did you and Nick talk about that?
We may have.
What did your mother say about your ability to date going forward?
She said that it would never happen, that she would never allow it.
What about marriage? Did you and Nick ever talk about marriage?
Yes.
Did you and your mother ever discuss whether or not you'd be able to get married someday?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She said that she wouldn't allow it.
In June of 2015, were you in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Did Nick know you were in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Why were you in a wheelchair in June of 2015?
Because my mother forced me to be in one.
Do you know why you were forced to be in a wheelchair?
No, sir. She just forced me to be in one.
And how long had you been in a wheelchair as of June of 2015?
Since probably I was about 8 years old.
Was there a time between when you first were put in a wheelchair and June of 2015 that you figured out that you really didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
When was that?
I always knew that I didn't need the wheelchair
And how did you know that?
because I could walk.
Did you and your mother obtain any?
She has a lot of emotion coming up with that, and she just had to breathe to kind of push some of that just to be able to continue to testify.
kind of advantage by you being in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
What kind of advantage did you obtain?
Financial, attention, charity.
Financially mean money.
Yes, sir.
Did you obtain money as a result of you being in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
How did that work out? How did that happen?
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance of that. There's been no connection that need to.
And really, the mom was the one that benefited. The mom was the one that would spend the money and do all of that and decided what happened with the money.
Defendant knew any of this.
Well, I'm assuming, Ms. Perry, you're going to tie this up.
Well, right now. Did you and Nick ever talk about the fact that you didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to him about why you were required to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
I'll overrule the objection.
Could you tell the jury why it is that you obtained money as a result of being in a wheelchair?
Because people felt sorry for me.
And they would do what?
And Judge, I'm just going to object to general relevance at this point.
I'll allow it for the time being. You may answer, ma'am.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Asked you why you attained an advantage for being in a wheelchair. You said people gave me money. And I think my next question was, why did they give you money?
Because they felt sorry for me. They believed the lie. They believed the fraud.
When did you tell Nick about the wheelchair? That you being in a wheelchair?
I think maybe a month or so after we met.
When did you tell Nick that you didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
A year into our relationship.
So if the relationship began in October of 2012, it would have been sometime in 2013 that you first told him that you really didn't need to be in a wheelchair.
That is correct.
Were you ill during this period of time?
No, sir.
Did you ever tell Nick that you were ill or that you had illnesses?
I told him that I had illnesses. Yes, sir.
Did you ever tell him that you really weren't ill?
Yes, sir.
When did you tell him you really weren't ill?
The same time that I told him that I didn't need to be in the wheelchair.
What illnesses did you believe you had?
Cancer, muscular dystrophy. I needed glasses. I needed hearing aids. Seizure disorder. And I can't remember what else.
And when did you figure out that you weren't actually sick?
I started to piece things together when I was about 19 years old. Then I didn't understand the full extent of how healthy I was until after I got arrested.
So even at the time,
Because after she got arrested, she was able to come off of all of the medication. She was a healthy, functioning person despite all of the medical doctor's appointments and all that she had been through. And this isn't to make you feel bad about her. Like, this is just for information and to help kind of piece the story together.
even as of June of 2015, you still believed you had some of the illnesses.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever run away?
Yes, sir.
When did you, and by run away I mean from your mother,
Yes, sir.
when did you run away?
In the spring of 2011.
Did you tell Nick about that?
Yes, sir.
When did you tell Nick about that?
I don't remember.
Hold on. I wasn't aware of that. She ran away in spring of 2011. She would have been 20 years old. And this is going to play into my comment later about I don't think her mother would have let her escape. I don't think her mother would have let her escape.
I remember the exact time.
Was it before your mother's murder?
Yes.
Did you ever consider running away after that? After you ran away in 2011?
Yes, but I knew that it would end badly.
What happened when you ran away? Tell us about running away in 2011.
It was in the middle of the night, and I packed a small bag of stuff, and my mother was asleep, so I left the house, and I met up with one of my friends.
And where did you go?
To first at Mercy Hospital in Springfield, and then to his house.
And at some point, did your mom figure out where you were?
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
4 hours later,
What happened when your mother figured out where you were?
she took me back home. She smashed my computer and my cell phone. She chained me to a bed for 2 weeks.
Did you ever tell Nick about all that?
Yes.
That's the only time you ran away?
Yes.
Did you receive any other physical abuse as a result of running away other than what you already told the jury?
Yes.
What other abuse?
Hitting, punching, starvation.
Did you tell Nick everything that had happened between you and your mother during the course of your relationship with him?
Most, but not all.
All the stuff we've talked about is stuff you actually did tell him,
Yes.
and stuff he knew as of June of 2015.
Yes.
And when did you tell him these things? All at once or over a period of time?
Over a period of time.
Beginning at what point in the relationship?
He knew since day one that my mother never allowed me to date. But I don't remember exactly when I told him every single little detail that was going on in my home life.
But you did tell him everything you did tell him by the time of June of 2015.
Yes, sir.
I assume since you believed you to be sick, you met regularly with doctors.
Yes, sir.
Did you also meet with social workers? Or do you remember that?
No, sir, I don't remember.
Why didn't you tell your doctors that you didn't really think you needed to be in a wheelchair?
Judge, I'll object to the relevance of that. That's outside the scope of the knowledge that the defendant would have.
Mr. Fair?
Judge, I think it is relevant. It goes to, it really goes to why this whole thing happened. The fact that I'm glad to explain it, but I really don't know we should explain it on the record.
Can we go back and do it?
I'm gonna allow it for the time being. Let's not get too far afield here with it. Do you need that question repeated, please?
Yes, please.
If you'd repeat it.
I would be glad to. Why did you not tell doctors that you knew you could walk or you didn't believe yourself to be ill during the time that you were doing this?
I didn't think that anyone would believe me. I thought they would eventually tell my mom, and that would make my home life even worse for me. I feared.
Okay, so I believe that fully. I do believe that if she had ever tried to let a doctor or staff person or somebody know that she wasn't okay, that her mother would have, because her mother was already not feeding her like her mother was already doing horrific things. I do think that her home life would have gotten worse. Adult protective services is a lot harder than child protective services. If somebody had noticed when she was a child, adult protective services can be a little bit more sticky because, and I do think that there was a part of her that maybe thought her mom cared about her. Like it's when harm like this happens and it's the caregiver that does it, it can really be confusing for the person experiencing it. Let's keep going.
Feared her more than I feared anyone else.
Where's your father during this time?
Louisiana.
Did you ever talk to your father while you were in Missouri?
It's a complicated answer.
Did you ever speak to him on the phone?
I did, but my mother was always present.
Did you ever tell him what was going on?
So the father was not at all aware of any of this. He was actually paying regular child support. I think it was like $1,500. I don't know. It was a significant amount of child support that he was paying. And Dee Dee would just say horrific things about him. Oy.
No, sir.
Now, earlier you told us you met Nick for the first time in person in March of 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where did you meet him in person?
A Springfield movie theater.
What movie?
Cinderella.
How is it you were able to meet with Nick?
So they met for Cinderella. She's dressed up. He's dressed up. And like I said, they meet up in the bathroom. I'm going to skip forward a little bit.
Did you and Nick ever talk about any disabilities he may have?
Yes.
What disabilities did you understand him to have?
Asperger's syndrome.
Did you know what that was?
No, sir.
Now, you indicated that you paid for this trip to Missouri by Nick in 2015. What all did you pay for?
I paid for the Greyhound bus ticket. I paid for the hotel and for eating money.
And how did you pay for this? How did you get the money to Nick?
I stole the money from my mother and I sent it to him via the mail.
Gypsy, if you wouldn't mind speaking up just a bit.
Yes.
Get more soft.
Sorry.
I think you said you put it in the mail?
Yes, sir.
In what form was the money?
Cash.
Do you know how much you sent him that time?
I don't know the exact amount. Probably about $800.
And how would you get the money how would you steal the money from your mother?
She kept it in a money pouch.
What were your feelings for Nick in the spring of 2015?
I loved him.
Was there a point in this relationship that you considered yourself, that is you and Nick, to be more than just boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
When was that?
We had plans to marry.
Any other plans for your future at that point?
We planned to have kids. Yes.
All right, so that's it for her testimony. You can check out the full link to hear the rest. I think she details kind of what she did and what he did during the whole incident because, like I said, she provided it. I think she was a big part of it. So he ended up getting a life sentence without the possibility of parole. They tried to have his IQ and autism diagnosis come in, and for that to play a role in the jury's decision with his sentence, and they still gave him that life sentence without the possibility of parole. It's my understanding that he is appealing that. I have that on a later slide. So, what if she had escaped? In some of the research I did for this, there was a quote that said, Dee Dee appeared to be a charming, devoted mother, so people believed her. So I don't think anyone would have believed that she was doing the things that Gypsy said. We now know that she was, and that it was a horrific living environment. There was a ton of physical, emotional, there was a ton of harm going on. And I don't know if anyone would have believed Gypsy. I also think that Dee Dee would have been able to convince people that Gypsy wasn't able to care for herself or make decisions for herself. I would have loved to have known information about that guardianship statement. So for whatever reason on that particular audio, they cut out the portion on the interview where she was talking about her mother, something about guardianship, because I could imagine that her mother would file for medical power of attorney so that she could continue to make medical decisions for her even as an adult, because her mother still went with her to all of her appointments as an adult, as a legal adult. And I do think if Gypsy had run away, I think her mother would have reported her as missing and that she wasn't caring for herself. She didn't have any of her medications. She's ran off with some stranger she met online, and there are all these safety risks. I think the mom would have tried to raise a bunch of red flags, and I think she probably would have been brought back home to her mom. So what's next for Gypsy Rose? So she's done multiple TV interviews. There's a Dr. Phil interview. There are a ton of interviews out there. And she has a book coming out. And there is also a Lifetime series that is going to be coming out. She has gotten married. She is married to a school teacher. And their relationship has been 100% online, and some of the research and coverage I saw over on Grizzly True Crime, it sounded like they might have been briefly separated. This is once again a 100% online relationship. In my opinion, Gypsy seems to jump from relationship to relationship to relationship, and I don't know that she's had a stable, healthy, good relationship. She's been able to build that with family now, because I think once family realized what happened, I think her family kind of came around and supported her after. But I'll leave my thoughts there. What's next here on the channel? So I am so thankful for each and every sub. If you like this content, if you like content like this is what I will be doing going into 2020. I will still do videos on mental health topics, giving mental health education, definitely answering your questions, either in a short or longer form content. And if there are cases that you want for me to cover, please put that down in the comments. It just needs to have a psychological component. So a lot of people talked about wanting me to cover a particular case. But then when I asked, like, hey, what's the psych thing? Like, there wasn't really a psychological aspect. So I do try for there to be some type of mental health diagnosis, that there's a mental health expert that came in or something like that for any of these types of cases. I will be following some of those big trials, those big cases this coming year. And I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you all had a great holiday, and I hope you all have a happy new year.